What if I told you ghosts are real? Not just flickering lights and cold spots, real, restless spirits stuck between this world and the next. Now, imagine there's a government agency underfunded, overworked, and barely holding it together, tasked with helping them move on. Well, I've got an author I'd like you to meet whose book will take you into the world of small town hauntings and the team trying to keep the peace between the living and the dead, one misadventure at a time. Stick around because you'll learn more about the book and the writing journey this author took to create it. And get ready, things might get a little weird.
Welcome to A Book Finds You podcast. This week's guest is Jeff Elkins. Join us as he shares the inspiration behind his book, along with his writing process, routines, and challenges. And now here's your host, best-selling author, Rob Shawless.
Today's guest, Jeff Elkins, took an inspiring journey into becoming an author. Over a decade ago, when Jeff Elkins was fired from a job, he turned to writing fiction as a creative release. Today, he's the author of 12 novels and over 100 short stories and a screenplay. He podcasts, coaches writers, and writes nonfiction as The Dialogue Doctor. Happy to have you with us. Welcome to the show, Jeff. And never make me say Dialogue Doctor again. That's a hard one.
Thanks, man. I'm pumped to be here. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Yeah.
A pleasure to have you here. So let's dive into this book of yours. Okay. Normally I talk about a book finds you, but it looks like, books found you. So a decade ago, you got the calling. Tell me about that kind of moment. I doubt a coconut hit you in the head. Tell me about that, and then we'll talk about how the latest book found you.
Yeah, I'm dyslexic. Grew up, English was my least favorite subject, and went all through college writing as little as I possibly could. Right, so the traditional writer story of I've been dreaming of being a writer since I was a little kid. That was not me. I hated writing. And then I was working a job as a change manager, and I was meeting with this board of people, and I was explaining to them. We were arguing about something, and I started to go into intense detail on my opinion. And one of them, kind of a wise sage guy in the room, goes, "Hey, Jeff, this is all really nice. Why don't you go write this down for us and then give it to us, and we could read it and talk about it more later?" And I was like, "Yeah, I will." And I went and I sat down and I wrote this hypothetical example that was now I would know as a short story, to be like, "Hey, this is what I'm trying to get across from you." And then I wrote probably another, 25 pages of here's the brief of what we were talking about. And man, I loved writing that short story. And so the job was really stressful, it was really intense. And I was like, I really enjoyed that. I'm just going to start trying to write a short story every night. And so I did. I started, my kids would go to bed. At that point, I had 4 kids, and they were all elementary school age. My kids, my wife would go to bed. It would be 10:30, 11 o'clock. And I'd be like, I'm going to take another hour, hour and a half and just write something. And so I just started typing out these short stories. Most of them were pretty terrible. I felt the need to get some education. I went to a guy named Joe Bunting online who runs The Right Practice is what it's called. And he was running a program on how to write a short story. So I took his online course, and I was like, I'm just going to keep going. So for a little over a year, I wrote a short story every night. They were 2,000 to 3,000 words.
Wow. That was my question. I was already stocking up my first question, which is how many words are these stories? 2,000 to 3,000. You were really writing.
I was writing, and it was great. And it just kind of unlocked something in me. It's okay. And what I would do is I'd find different ways to inspire them. I used to go to Wikipedia, and they would have if you go to Grimm's fairy tales in Wikipedia, they have all the fairy tales listed there, and they all have numbers to them. So I'd get a random number generator. I'd hit the random number generator. It would give me 238. And then I'd go find story 238, I'd read it, and then I'd retell it in the modern day. And that was a lot of what I was doing. At the time, I was like, man, this is a real stress relief to dream and imagine and write weird things. But what I realized I was doing was training myself to write. That was my kind of learn by fire how to write fiction. I got obsessed in my spare time. I started
You
studying like,
you you got obsessed.
I
I
know
can't
me,
imagine
right?
that.
Well, what, me? Obsessive? Yeah. So I started studying like story structure and I got really deep into like act play structure. And I was just reading all the classics that I think people read in school, like McKee, and like diving deep into story grid and just trying to understand this thing I was enjoying. And then, fast forward like a year and a half, I was working another job and it wasn't working out well, and they let me go. And I was like desperate till I need to figure out some way. I hated the idea that at this point I had 5 children. I had 4 children. My wife was 9 months pregnant. And I was desperately searching for a new job. And I was also like, I hate this feeling that like I don't have any long-term life. Like I hate that I am kind of a slave to whoever my current employer is, and that if they decide to let me go, I'm in big trouble. And so I was like, I'm doing this writing thing. I need to find an immediate job because writing isn't going to pay my life right now. But if I keep working at it and I actually start doing more than just writing short stories every night, maybe I can actually develop a long-term career that could hold me if this ever happens again. If I ever have this like career disruption again, that could like be kind of a fallback. I never expected it to take over my income, but I was like, man, maybe I can develop something that can like build a long-term foundation so that I build kind of a long tail of sales that if I like get stuck or get in trouble, this could help me out. And so I switched to writing novels because that's where you make money. Is just kidding. So at the time I was like, indie publishing, writing novels, this is going to be a gold mine. Um, it's not. It's not. I'm being sarcastic. But I switched to writing novels and I was pretty fast up front, had no understanding of the market. If I could grab that version of me 10 years ago and be like, hey, this is what it means to write to market, I would have totally. So because I was fast, I burned through about 5 novels, completely misunderstanding how to like read a market, understand a market, write to a market.
Mhm.
Love those novels. They're a lot of fun. They are urban fantasy novels about homeless superheroes that like have to find their next meal in the dumpster. I was working a lot with unhoused people and addiction recovery back then. So like, they were kind of like the people I'm seeing, like what if when they talk to themselves, they're actually like fighting invisible monsters. I was like, that would be fun. That is not what urban fantasy was at the time. Urban fantasy at the time was a lot of like hot 20 something, people with magical powers that worked for the FBI. Radically different than like my exploration of unhoused people. So didn't fit the market in any way, shape, or form. But I built a like solid readership, solid small readership of people that were like, hey, these books are weird and they don't really match anything, but I want to follow. And then I went from there to writing a series of detective novels about a detective who can relive people's memories, but can never trust whether the memories are real or interpreted by the people's brain. So that was a fun series. Again, like my readership built a little bit more. And then started the coaching business that I did, diverted fiction for a couple of years. But then my friend, JP Reinflesch, who's a fellow editor with me, and he's now a dialogue doctor coach with me. But at the time, Kindle Vella was coming out, which was the new serial. There's their new serialized platform. And we were like, hey, we want to be first on that platform. We want to get there early. So I had this idea for nerds for a government bureaucratic agency that is like social workers for ghosts. And it was a combination of like Brooklyn Nine-Nine meets Parks and Rec. And we're like, what if we could put those two things together? That would be fun. And Ghostbusters, if we could like jam all of those together.
Why not?
So
Yeah.
we started publishing on Vella. We were running an episode a week. Vella's a like serialized fiction site that does you people pay in tokens and then they spend tokens to read word count. So we did that for 66 weeks. We put up an episode every week and it was fantastic. It was a really great experience. Then we took those episodes and combined them into the novel and published the novel like 3 months later. Yeah, it's been great. It's been really fun.
Well, I
Good
have to tell
experience.
you, thanks for being on the show. That was my first question. You can
Yeah,
tell this
sorry. I'll
man.
talk, Rob, if you let me
Yeah,
go.
I was
You got
going
to
to
cut
say
me
you can.
off.
You can tell this man has a podcast and is not shy about talking. So I'm
No.
going to go past my 63 questions I had while we were listening to the manifesto there. No, I actually really appreciate that. And, I can see through your bio, et cetera, you have a lot of experience. So it's sort of where I want to push my questions with you. But let's stay here a little bit. Normally, I don't talk about the marketing end as much, but you're a marketing guy almost. You experimented. So, for instance, from what you're describing, do you use Substack?
No, I played with Substack. I decided like I didn't use it. We decided it wasn't a great place for our fiction specifically. So we didn't go with it, but I have investigated it. Fantastic for nonfiction. Like if you're writing nonfiction, Substack's amazing. It's kind of I think it's what Medium wanted to be and never fully became. And
Right.
it's a great way to so one way to build talking marketing, one way to build like a financial base for your work so that at first you're accruing less expenses. Ideally, that grows into covering your expenses fully and then can maybe even grow into making you money on the fly. Is
Yeah.
that like subscription-based model of
Yeah.
like people subscribing to your work? Substack's amazing for that. I use Patreon for
Right.
my nonfiction.
Got it.
Patreon has a little more. Well, first I started before Substack got big, and I'd already built a community on Patreon, but and I didn't want to move it because moving things is a pain in the butt. So I used Patreon, but Substack's that like really great subscription model, and I do know people doing good fiction on there. It just wasn't a good fit for us, but yeah.
About because you've got so much experience here, do you ever go out and speak on behalf of your books?
Yeah, yeah, all the time. I'm actually a presenter at InkersCon this year in June. That's a big indie conference. Most of the authors coming to InkersCon have like 4 to 5 books published, so it's a kind of more seasoned audience. I'm really pumped about speaking there this year. I'll be at the Maryland Writers Association this year, talking on like character development and craft. I do less speaking on my fiction because I'm really bad at marketing it.
Right.
So, to get a writing partner, my writing partner JP is amazing, and
Right.
so that's one of the reasons I love writing with him because he's really great at marketing fiction. So it's a good, yeah, it's a good partnership. But yeah, so no, I don't speak on my fiction, but I speak a lot on nonfiction on the craft of writing.
Yeah, and I'm learning this world of yours. I am not just yours, the fiction world.
Yeah,
I'm the nonfiction guy.
yeah, yeah,
I'm like an oddball in the Maryland Writers Association. But
yeah,
when you said, for instance, all the money we make on our books, then we laughed.
yeah,
The fact is, for nonfiction writers, my books have sustained me for over 35 years
yeah,
because of the speaking business side of it. Because in the nonfiction world, that's a much bigger world. And we have clients, and we get a lot more than just a stipend or the conference fees waived.
yeah,
So, but I always smile and go, well, yeah, no, it's not come from the royalty side. It comes from the doors that it opens. And your books, I think, in your own way, they're opening a lot of doors for you.
oh yeah.
Between Dialogue Doctor, between the
Mhm.
podcast you have, your Patreon. So it's just interesting hearing kind of the business that you've created from a nonfiction side. That's educational to me.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, if you want to talk markets for a second, I stay pretty attuned to like how markets function. Now, everything I'm about to say is my opinion. If you're looking to make money, making money nonfiction is easier because you're meeting an immediate need. So like
Right.
when you're writing a nonfiction book, you're like, this person has this need, and I am meeting this need with my book. If you can find a great take on it, you can build a nonfiction brand. Like, so the way I got into Dialogue Doctor, which is my coaching people to write engaging characters and complex dialogue, is my day job is simulating difficult conversations for law enforcement, for social service work, for suicide prevention work. That's what I do during the day. I spend all day, every day, talking to people about like how do you have conversations and how do we translate that into a written simulation that's then performed by an actor. So I was like looking to send a kid to college. Hey, I got to like bring some income in. And a friend of mine was like, you need to take what you do in your day and apply it to writing fiction. And that's how the Dialogue Doctor was born, was I had a special skill set and I applied it to a need that people had. When we're talking about a fiction market, it's more, there's two markets. Um, well, that's not true. There's a bubble that's popped. So in around, like, people argue the dates, but sometime between 2009 and 2014, the indie market created a bubble. It boomed. And Amazon created this bubble. And what I mean by bubble is rapid expansion and rapid sales for early adopters that then lasted for mid-level adopters to jump in and sell books. And there was a system to it, to Amazon, because you weren't actually selling books to readers, you were selling books to the Amazon algorithm, and then the Amazon algorithm was distributing them to readers that wanted them, right? Like, just a different, like, that's how to understand how Amazon works and how right to market works, which is a phrase we say all the time in fiction writing. You are selling to the Amazon algorithm, which then likes things about your book and finds readers and says, these readers would like this product, but you're speaking to the algorithm. So that's why, like, in when they started doing this in 2014, the period of time called the Kindle Gold Rush, if you followed a couple rules, you could get the algorithm to put your book up high, and more readers would see it, and you could kind of start a career. As more and more people have jumped into that writing, which now we're at, like, everybody who watches the market says, like, there's way more people writing than there are people buying. So we're, like, flush with the market right now is flushed with supply and less demand. There's more rules you have to follow to tweak out algorithm because there's more people trying to find it. So there's a right to market approach, which is targeting whale and large volume readers on Amazon. And it works really, really well for romance. It works really, really well for sci-fi and fantasy, less well for thriller, less well for mystery. It can work less well. There's a lot of rules you need to follow. You need to, like, pattern not just your book, but, like, your title, your cover, your back matter, your plot points. Everything has to be patterned to things that are currently selling, because you're selling to high volume readers who are looking for very specific things. And Amazon's algorithm knows those high volume readers, knows what they want, and is looking to give them exactly what they want. So when you write to market on that end, you are, like, developing a book that's like, hey, I'm going to sell directly to this specific person. Amazon, please give my book to them. Knowing that if I write 4 books they like, they're going to churn through those 4 and be ready for whatever else I write.
Gotcha. Okay.
The other side of the market is the, like, hey, I want to be creative and I don't want to write to market. That's the slow build, where you're like, I'm building the slow audience of, like, people that love my work and buy into my brand. It's going to take a lot longer, but you have a lot more creative freedom and expression to do what you want to do. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yes. Thank you for the
Yep.
answer to question 2.
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry,
Hey,
Rob. Sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
Now, I can't wait to get on your show because you're not getting a
Please do.
word in with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, man, I don't have a time limit on mine. We go for 3 hours.
Paybacks are really rough in this business there, my friend. But now, I'm gonna put you on what we call a shot clock for the rest of the questions I ask you.
Okay.
But this is an easy shot clock because you went into some nice detail, nice and quick in 20 seconds or less, because you just basically gave us the tip of the iceberg. If I'm a writer and I'm listening, I want to talk to the dialogue doctor and learn a little bit more about this. So I'm giving you a moment for a quick plug. Tell people how they can get a hold of you so they can hear more of what you're talking about there in terms of kind of figuring out the Amazon way, etc.
Just come to dialoguedoctor.com
All right.
because everything's there.
Look how fast he was
You
on
didn't
that
think I
one,
was
folks.
capable. You
Yeah,
didn't think I
all of
could
a
do it.
sudden,
I can do it.
yeah, I asked him to sell. He went, oh, sell. Okay, I got that one for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this question: with all your and you're on the clock now. I want everything
Okay,
to
I'm on the clock.
pretend you're
One
selling
sentence
everything
answers.
now. Okay,
One sentence answers. You
one
got it.
big sale. Okay, because you have so many ideas percolating in your brain, and I'm still blown away by the story of night thing. I think the story at night was almost you like a boxer learning how to put on your gloves, hit a heavy bag, hit a speed bag, and spar. Okay. You learn to be a fighter. You learn to be a boxer. You learn to be a writer. So now, circa 2025, how do you know when an idea is worth pursuing? Because you have a lot of ideas in that head of yours.
Yeah. So there's quick answer. With every idea, you have to weigh, is this for me or is this for them? Right? if it's for them, the idea is worth pursuing if it aligns with the market trends. If it's for me, I love it, and it's something that I can't let go of.
Yeah. And quite frankly, and you can go a little longer than that, by the way, now. But
It's a challenge,
yeah,
man.
come
Challenge
on, Rob, you got
accepted.
me coming and
I'm
going.
gonna do it. Yeah.
Okay. But boy, I'd put a pin in that. That is really a smart statement. And I know as a professional speaker, how many times I actually use that as my litmus test when people go, I want to put this and I want to put that, and I'm thinking of doing this. What if I do that? And it's like, yeah, sounds all good. What does
Yeah.
the audience want? What do you think the audience reaction will be to this? You'll get most of your answers if you get out of your own head and think about your audience, but that's logical. It's just not instinctive.
And if you're not right, if you're like, no, no, I want to write the book of my heart.
Yeah.
I want to write the book of my dreams. Screw the audience. Write the book of your dreams. Just know you may not sell it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Right. Like part of what I struggle with the authors I coach all the time is like, hey, sales is not the only metric of success, right? Like if you write a beautiful book from your heart and 15 people read it and absolutely love it and it's their favorite book of all time, then are you not successful? Right? Like why does, this the question of are you okay to be the restaurant on the corner of, Cranbrook and York that sells the best hamburger in Cockeysville? And 100 people know about you and they keep you going. Or do you need to be McDonald's? If you need to be McDonald's, don't write the book of your heart.
Right.
Make a Big Mac,
Right.
right? And make the Big Mac a million times.
Yeah.
If you want to be the like book that everybody loves, write the book of your heart and be innovative and creative and do something beautiful.
Perfect. Good. Well, you are on a roll now. All right, let's keep going.
I cut myself off,
Yeah,
Rob. I
yeah,
could have gone for another like 45 minutes
yeah.
on that.
Folks, you can't see it. He actually bit his lip as he finished that particular answer, and now he's spitting his water out. Okay. Now back to your writing routine. uh, you used to when you were, I'm not unhealthy, but when you were putting the kids to bed and writing these 2,000 word stories. Talk to me about now. Do you have I don't want to say a more sensible routine, but do you have a routine now that's kind of morphed, that's a little bit more normal, or are you still a 2,000 word guy a night?
I'm not. So now what I do, because novels I find a lot harder than short
Right.
stories. I can just let go of a short story and be like, oh, that was fun. I never have to think about that again. Not unless I'm trying to publish it, and then you got to edit it like 50 times. But for a novel, I spend a couple months planning and just dreaming with a notebook. Ideas, I look for conversations, I look for character interactions that spark in my head, emotional moments in the book that I want to write. And then I will have like a week where I sit down with a spreadsheet because I'm a planner. Like some people or Brandon Sanderson says, some people, I liked his version. Some people are architects and some people are gardeners. Some people build a plan. I'm that side. Some people need to get their hands in the dirt and start digging around before they actually know what they're doing. That's the gardener side.
Yeah.
Both are great. Neither one's better than the other. I just been toward the planner. So I'll build the structure of the book. I'll actually outline every move that I want to make in the story and the plot. Sometimes I'll do that to an actual specific plot structure. Sometimes I just let it flow and go on its own, but I'll build that out, and then I start chunking through and writing each scene. So when I'm writing, I do write like every night, and I write like 2,000 words a night, but that is not a like I do this every day thing. Those are seasons of sprints.
Right.
And then I'll spend like 2 months editing, and I will edit a scene slash chapter every day and like crank through that. But then I have to rest for a while. I can't go from one book to the next book. Novels are like you're on an emotional journey with the character when you write and read a book. Like that's what a book is. It's an emotional journey you're taking with a character. And so I get worn out, man. Like I get to the end of an emotional journey. I'm like, I'm tired. And so I have to take a couple months to like refresh and start dreaming in that notebook about the next thing, the next stuff, and then I can go at it again. But yeah, so that's kind of a snapshot of my process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to tell you, you're the dialogue doctor. I'm just the doctor. I would say that you might want to pace yourself. 2,000 words a night. when you're, I know only when Rob, only when I'm in the really the writing phase, that'll wear you out. I know people that will write 2,000 words a week, and they're very dedicated to it, and
Yeah.
and they're going 500 here, and they're going to a party the next night, and then they're going 300, and then they're putting in 1,000. But it's like I always compare it to, I used to be a marathon runner. It's like they have a certain number of miles they're going to run, but they don't run them all in one night. They
Yeah.
spread it out, and if they've been a little lazy, then they got the tail end of the week is a little harder.
Yeah. And
But
I
yeah,
think that's part of what's beautiful about the writing community is that there's
yeah,
no right way to do this.
exactly. Yeah,
Right? Like I have writers I coach that'll spend a week on 100 words
yeah,
and they obsess over those 100 words and they get them perfect. I write 2,000 trash words that I'm going to have to edit 4 times.
yeah.
But that's what I like. Like that's what motivates me. I can't if I stop writing before I finish a scene, I go crazy. I can't sleep. I got to go finish the scene. So like this is it's just how we all function, but there's no right or wrong way to do it. Like it's whatever motivates you to
Jeff.
keep going.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw an opinion at you. So
Go
already,
for
it's
it.
just an opinion.
I love it.
On the one hand, I've spent decades telling people when I'm teaching them to sell and different things. The business side of me is like, everybody has their own style. There is no right or wrong way. And yet, I do wince when I hear the way of, I'm going to write 100 words and I'm going to edit it and edit it and edit it. And it's usually not 100 words. It's that chapter they've been working on for 8 years.
Yeah.
I'm a guy that really, for most people, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying I think that's the first warning sign of, I like your approach, which is, why don't we just run this race? We can go back and edit, but you'll never get out of the first chapter if you keep picking at your words, unless you've written 10 books and then you know what you're doing. But
Yeah.
it's that dream of people who want to write a book. They're coming to you, Jeff. I'm going to form this into a question. How many times have you spoken to somebody who said, Jeff, I've always had this dream? Have you started? Yeah, I've been piddling around on this book. How long? 9 years. Okay. What have you been doing? I got, 1,000 words done. Uh, you run into those people.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
all the time. Well, I mean, I coach over the last 4 years. I've done one-on-one coaching with more than 300 authors.
Hmm.
Some of those relationships are long-term. Some of them are just like 2 or 3 sessions. But yeah, so the question is like the question I would ask you back, and the
Yeah.
question I ask authors I worked with is this working for you? Is this what you want? Some people love working on a single book and they may not finish it for 15 years. And if that's what they want and that's what they love and that's what's like bringing them joy, let's do that. Now, when they come to me and they're like, I've been working on this book for 15 years and I want to make $100,000 a year on my writing, I'm like, that's not how that works, right? Like the modern market is about multiple books and series and speed. So if you want to sell, if fiction, we need to get you moving and writing and like a book a year, right? Like is kind of the low end of the standard. And so, and you can do it. So it's about what do you want and what motivates you. And so there is something beautiful in the person that spends a lifetime writing a single book. And
Yeah.
like, as long as that's what you want, right? Like, but if what you want is like, no, I want a full time, I want a second life career. If you want to be John Grisham, in the modern market, you better pick the speed up. Right.
Yeah.
And by the way, he writes a book a year
Yeah.
still, right?
Yeah.
Like if you want to be Stephen King, he's still writing a book a year and he has for a long, long time, right? Like, so it's all about what you want. And like, I don't want to judge anybody for the desires of their heart, but
Yeah. It's that's
let's make sure the desires align with your actual like goals.
Yeah. And that's lovely. I'm going to be the bad cop on this one.
Right. That was good. That's
Yeah.
lovely. Was
That
good.
whenever you hear that's lovely, it means so you didn't listen to a word I said. No, I listened to everything. I promise. But when I say I'm going to be the bad cop, and this is the sales guy in me,
Yeah.
normally a customer doesn't invite me into the shop if everything's perfect. Okay. They want to have a conversation because the shop isn't running right. So
Yeah.
when somebody comes to me with that 15 years, uh, I already know you're here for a reason. So point is, I might not always be the right consultant, but 15 years, okay, we're going to have this book done in 5 weeks. Your
Yeah.
books come. I'm assuming that's what you want to do, but I don't want to bury the lead because you made a really good point, and I want to reinforce it. I really think it's important that we cue into our own particular style. Everybody has their own way. I just like the banter, and I just want to get on the other side
No.
of a lot of the fence that you're on, just to give you another perspective.
Yeah, I actually completely agree with what you just said.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
yeah,
Right? Like if you're like I want a career out of this, there's this pace you have to keep.
yeah,
And and spoiler alert, which I know you talk about a lot, but we haven't talked about yet, is that like, hey, you're also going to market that thing and you're going to build a brand because
yeah,
you're not just publishing a book, you are building a brand as a storyteller. And so
yeah,
like just, yeah, all of that's going to be part of it. Nobody's building your brand for you.
yeah.
That's not how the market works now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you missed that, folks, Jeff is politely moving me to the marketing end of the conversation.
I'm
I
just
know, I
agreeing with you. I'm just
know,
like, hey,
I
this is,
know,
yeah.
I know. But I definitely want to get you on the line for a couple of marketing questions. So I'm not done with you on that
Okay.
part. You know, you said something earlier, and I just sometimes I think things get lost a little bit. So I just want to reinforce it. You sort of and you ran right through it because you were making a lot of points, but you were talking about which was good. Now, this was good.
Yeah, yeah.
Somehow this is nice. Uh, but you mentioned talking to people about your book. You know how many people don't want to talk to people about the book they're writing?
Oh, I know.
And and it again, it's the second time I'm going to use the same phrase: instinct versus logic.
Hmm.
The logically, we want to talk to people. It's amazing what somebody in a CVS line will tell you because it's unfiltered, and it's not that you're jumping on their idea. It just pushed you out of that bubble that you're in to explore around that idea. It's so valuable to have conversations with just about anyone, but our instinct is to do the opposite. Well, I don't have it done. I've been working on it. Put pressure on me. I'm not asking a guy at the CVS line, but I really like the fact that it sounds like you're a guy that says, have conversations about what you're working on.
And it's hard. Like I'm an introvert.
Mhm.
I know you probably don't believe that right now. I am. I don't like talking to people. I get very anxious. It's one of the reasons of the like run on speed. But you know, 2 years ago, I was like, I have to start talking to people more about my book. So I went to a brewery and I was like, hey, if I bring a bunch of authors here, can we sell books on a day? And we did an event. I did an event called Books and Brews, and I did the second one this fall. And it was we had like 40 writers there from the Maryland Writers Association. It was over at Union Craft Brewing in downtown Baltimore. It was amazing, but I was very uncomfortable selling my book in person and talking about my book. And dear friends that are in my community and that like aren't in my community were like, you have to get over your crap. And so you just gotta, there's no easy way to be like, yeah, get over that anxiety. You just have to leap.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. For
Yeah.
years, man, I had published 9 books, 9 novels, ton of short stories. I was coaching and editing books. I was coaching people and writing and editing books. And people would ask me if I was a writer. And I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I'm a writer. I don't know. And that's all of my internal baggage barfing out on the person I'm talking to. It makes them uncomfortable. It's really gross. It makes everything. So, like, the first step, if you're anxious, is just to learn to say, I'm a writer,
Yeah.
right? Just practice. What do you do? I'm a writer. And during the day, I teach school, right? Like, what do you do? I'm a writer. And during the day, I work for a marketing firm, right? Like, you just got to make that the first thing you say about yourself, and it forces you into conversations.
Yeah. By the way, next book you come out, invite me to your book launch, and I'll tell you why. Because I really, I don't mess around. I can't tell you how many launches I've gone to, and I've said, I get it. You don't want to ask this tribe that you brought in here,
Yeah.
these 50 people. You go take a seat, and I'm going to talk to the 50 nice people. And,
Oh, dude.
and I am like
Yeah.
brutal. I'm like, listen,
I'll bring
you,
it. Yeah.
you know, this
Yeah.
book needs you. This author needs you.
Yeah.
But I think people are probably just writers for the most part are introverts. Most of them that I meet. But I think of the books almost like our children. You got
Yeah.
5 children.
I've got
We
five.
we do the best we can at raising those
Oh,
children, and we fight for them, and then they go into the world and they live their lives, and we hope that we did
mhm.
all we could to give them the best shot at it. That's
Absolutely.
what our books are,
Yep.
and
A
we
hundred
gotta we
percent.
gotta we gotta go for it. All right, I
Yeah.
got one more question for you, and
Okay.
you're running. You might be the longest podcast we've had, so congratulations. I claim the first two questions really were instrumental here, but
Hey,
as I
I'm
go.
taking my trophy. I'm claiming victory.
That's it.
You can't take it away from me.
That's right. That's no asterisks. No
That's
asterisks.
right.
Rob didn't want me
And
to talk that long. No,
you're
no asterisks on
tempting me
this.
to give that another half-hour answer. I'm just warning you.
All right. My last question. Mark, it is a marketing question. I teach a program at the Writers Center on marketing.
Mhm.
It's the only program taught at the Writers Center, so I can't be that bad at it. And would you
Yeah.
believe every other time I teach it, we can't even field a class. Artists, I mean, our authors tend to freeze up during the
Mhm.
marketing end. So here's my question for you. Cherry pick, and I'm actually giving you a bonus 60 seconds on this one.
Ooh, ooh.
Cherry pick your best one or two marketing ideas. If we got a bunch of authors listening and they're going, I don't even know where to start, say, give me one or two that just about anybody can do, and it's a good bang for your mental buck or your actual buck.
Yeah. Okay. Super easy. Uh, every time you launch a book, have a party.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't need to be a formal book launch. It doesn't need to be something that's like, you're coming to my book launch party. I will literally call all my friends. I'll say, hey, I'm having a party at this bar. We're going to be there for 2 hours. You come and I'll have a stack of my books. And when they ask what the party's for, I'll say, this is my book launch. This is it.
Got it.
Super easy way to start networking and public. And what's great is the people that are around you that aren't part of your party will go, what's going on over there? And you can be like, oh, book launch. Here's a book. Have fun. Um, Second favorite marketing tip is this goes for fiction and nonfiction, but buy, if you can, if you have the war chest of like money, buy 20 to 50 copies of your book and find people that you think match your ideal reader. Give them the book with a personal note. In that personal note, ask them if they like it to share it with at least two or three other people. Right? These are like, because we could talk about like Amazon ads, and we can talk about Facebook ads, we can talk about all that, but that can be scary. It can require money, it requires knowledge. These are simple things you can do. Write a note, put it in the front of the book, find an ideal reader, hand it to them, and say, hey, if you like this, pass it on to somebody else. And
Good.
it's a great way to start like building a tribe of readers.
Perfect. Okay. Now I'm gonna just go back on one of your ideas. Love the second one. Love the first one too. Big into the book launch. One, just and I'll be happy to send you a copy of this if you ever like it and give it out to your clients on your book launch. But as a sales guy who writes sales books, my job is to figure out what the objection is before it's asked.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of the we obviously are bringing those people in to mobilize them, and they are your tribe, Aunt Louise and Uncle
Mhm.
Larry. They're going to write reviews. Okay. Maybe. The problem is that they get a little bit nervous. Some of them have never written a review.
Oh,
So
yeah.
create a document that actually, with a link, that tells people here's how to write a review. Okay. Two
Mhm.
sentences. I don't walk on water. It's fine. And oh, by the way, here's the link. Here's a picture of it. Let's
Yep.
let's make it simple, because if you ask them in that party, they'll and put up their hand and promise they'll write a review. They'll not only promise, they'll pass a lie detector test on the way out.
Mhm.
But half of them won't write the review. They'll freeze up at the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But
My
but one other
document
idea.
actually has sentences in it that
Good.
say, hey, include these sentences in your review.
Good.
These are
Oh,
things I want you to say. Right. Like,
nice.
because they don't know what to write. They're like, it's a good book. I'm like, no, no. Here's like 10 sentences that I would love for you to put in a review. Pick two, and that can be your review.
All right.
Right.
You
Like,
send me that one. I'll send you mine. Okay.
yeah, that
We'll
sounds great.
exchange.
Yeah.
Okay. And the second thing, and I want you to, I'm going to mildly disagree with just a piece of what you said.
Yeah.
Love having books on hand.
Hmm.
But I'm a big guy that likes my Amazon reviews. Okay. And
Yeah.
when I give a book to my uncle who was going to write a
He
review,
can't
I have
review.
an unverified review.
Yeah.
So how about we meet in the middle and say, what I tell people is your golden ticket to the party is the book. Bring the book in. I'll sign it, etc. I'll
Hmm.
have books on hand. And maybe we dovetail that second idea of yours and say, this is the one I want you to give somebody that you might know or something, but use them. I want to give them to the people that I'm not sure I'm going to get a review on, but I know that they're influential and I want them to have that book.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I'd say that, my golden ticket in giving away a book, and I should have said this as part of both strategies, is everybody at that party or everybody you hand a book to, they have to subscribe to your email list.
Okay.
That's the necessity. You got to get them, because if I can get you on my list, you'll buy my second book. Right. Like if I get you on the list with a freebie for the first one that I put in your hand with a personalized note, and in that note, I'm like, hey, sign up for this, sign up for the email list here if you like the book, and please pass this on to somebody else. Or I have in the back of the book, like in the back, Matt, I actually put it in the front and the back of most of my books. This is Jeff's email list. Sign up for Jeff's email list. But that's the key, is that like what you're describing is that like meaningful relationship that actually furthers your career.
Bingo.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. How do people get a hold of you?
You can find me at dialoguedoctor.com for like writing stuff. If you want to go explore my weird fiction, you can go to jeffelkinswriter.com.
Good. Excellent. Well, it did get a little weird, but for a different reason.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't talk about ghosts, but we talked about other...
No, we never got near a ghost.
We talked about the monsters that haunt us online as writers. Yeah.
But I will tell you, yes, you did. You can claim the award as longest podcast we've ever had.
Yes.
But people ask me as fellow podcasters sometimes, how long is the podcast going to go? And in my head, as long as it's interesting. That's how long it's going to go.
Nice. Well, I'm glad I said interesting dialogue.
Really, you did a great job. I'm when you see me looking to the side, I'm taking notes. So taught me a couple things today, and I just really appreciated the conversation. Thanks so much for being on.
Yeah, thanks, Rob.
You bet. Well, we'll do it again as well as we can next time, everybody. Until then, stay safe.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's guest author, we'd love you to rate, review, and share this episode with others. If you'd like more information on today's guest or the Maryland Writers Association, please visit our website at marylandwriters.org. You can also hear a brief history of the Maryland Writers Association by listening to episode 0.